What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another Pitching Ninja's Filthiest Pitches of the Day. Remember, before we get to those pitches, hit that subscribe button. Join Ninja Nation. And now, without further ado, here are my filthiest pitches of the day. Since there was only one game yesterday, the filthiest pitcher of the day is pretty obvious. It was Joe Musgrove. Musgrove had 5 Ks in 7 innings, giving up only 1 hit, making him the first pitcher in postseason history to go 7+ innings with fewer than 2 hits in an elimination game. This was a totally dominant and clutch performance by Joe Musgrove. He had his filthy breaking balls working, throwing 34% breaking balls, split evenly between his slider and curveball, and also relied on his four-seam fastball, his changeups, and his cutters. Here's an overlay of Musgrove's curveball and his elevated fastball, and you can see how those pitches work together. They tunnel perfectly, so as a hitter, you're forced to make a last-second decision on whether it's a curveball or an elevated fastball. And if you guess wrong, you're either taking that curveball for a strike or swinging at a fastball out of the zone. The big controversy last night was that Musgrove's spin rate was up, as you can see in this chart from Baseball Savant, and he had shiny ears. So throughout the night, Mets fans were suspecting that Musgrove was somehow cheating. But I'll tell you, I was watching really closely, and it's not like he was touching his ears before every pitch. Not exactly the greatest place to hide sticky stuff if you're going to do it. But the combination of shiny ears and the spin rate being up made Buck Showalter think to have the umpires check Musgrove. The umpires gave Musgrove a thorough check and found that there was nothing there. Although I do love this comment from Twitter from a non-baseball fan wondering when impromptu ear massages became a thing in baseball. This cheating accusation did nothing but fire Musgrove up. After the substance check, he gets the out and does his best Kenny Powers imitation. Smell you later. I matched up Kenny Powers and Joe Musgrove's mechanics, and you can see how identical they are. What's also hilarious is that before this foreign substance check, Musgrove only had one 3,000 RPM pitch, and afterwards he had 5. One of the things about spin rates is it also increases as velo increases, and Musgrove's velo was up last night. And no, foreign substances don't increase velocity, unless you're putting jet fuel on the ball. Obviously, pitching in an elimination game can fire you up and increase your velocity. Plus, David Peterson's spin rates were also up a ton last night, and nobody bothered to check him. This whole Eargate controversy, or Ear-a-Lago, didn't do anything but fire up Joe Musgrove, as he said after the game.
During that time. Yeah, I mean, it motivated me a little bit, man. It fired me up. I had been throwing the ball well all night, and they were doing everything they could to get me out of there. So, opportunity to stick it to them a little bit and stick it to the crowd. I took it, and then I had to get back to work.
And interestingly, Gary Cohn, legendary Mets announcer, said the foreign substance check smelled like desperation.
I thought that considering the circumstances, 4-0, 6th inning, season on the line, it smacked of desperation. Fairly embarrassing, I thought, for Buck to do that in that spot. It was not necessary. Musgrove was not cheating. If you're going to pull a stunt like that, you better be right. And Buck wasn't right.
It kind of reminded me of a few years ago in the College World Series when Chris Pollard called a timeout to throw Kumar Rocker off his game, and it did nothing but fire Rocker up.
15 strikeouts. He screams at the Duke dugout.
Now onto my filthiest relievers. Drew Smith had this 97-mile-an-hour fastball. Seth Lugo had these fastballs. Cue the trumpets for the last time this season. Edwin Diaz had this 100-mile-an-hour gas. Robert Suarez had this 100 and 101-mile-an-hour heat. And my filthiest reliever of the day yesterday was Josh Hader, who looked like Josh Hader, who had been the most dominant reliever in baseball the past few years. He had this 101 and 100-mile-an-hour heat, which were the fastest pitches of his career. Now, here is my moment of zen. Yesterday's video featured Buck playing with butts. Today, it's Buck playing with balls.